Citizens of the Grateful Nation, thank you again for joining us for another episode of the I'm Doing Great podcast. Before we start some things today, go to I'mDoingMerch.com, pick up some of our stuff. We just released a new shirt called Abolish Daycare. It's up there. You can use the code INSTA10 to get 10% off at checkout. Also, go to SonoranDefense.com and get your Glocks stippled. Buy some accessories from them. They're really cool. If you use the code IDG10 at checkout, I believe you get 10% off there. SonoranDefense.com. I'm doing merch, right? That's all right. That's all right. Okay, yeah. Gina, please introduce who we got today.
We have another bro science expert in the house.
I'm excited.
He's a doctorate in bro science. He's a trainer. He's a health and fitness expert. He's a dad of 4, and he's a friend of ours, and he's local here to the Nashville area. Zane Griggs, welcome to the I'm Doing Great podcast.
Thank you. I am doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad we could make it. I was talking to Mike the other day. I was like, I know there's somebody else in the Nashville area that I haven't gotten on the show. And I was like, Zane, we haven't gotten Zane on yet.
Yeah, it popped up between the two of us, I think in May or June. And then it just kind of,
Yeah, and then we kind of forgot.
Summer hit.
Yeah.
You look like a seasoned soap star. Have you ever gotten that before?
No.
No, yeah.
Wait, did you act though?
I did some modeling long ago.
You did some modeling, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, and I did, a couple little not acting it, but like music videos and spots on like a couple things that were like where I'm the background. I'm not speaking.
Okay.
Not speaking.
You were just the face. You were objectified.
Oh, completely.
Yes.
I was willing.
Yeah, willingly objectified.
Willing as long as I was paid.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you moved to Tennessee from LA, was it?
California. Yeah, I was in San Diego right before this, but I grew up in California.
And you came out here a while ago, and so you've watched it.
97.
Dang.
Yeah, I watched it blow up. I'm still like watching it blow. I'm still like every time I don't recognize downtown anymore. Every time I go through there, it's different. There's different skyline, cranes up. Yeah. It has exploded.
And we've talked before about what the health scene was like here in the late 90s.
It was, good food was scarce over that way and just didn't have the diversity that you would, hope for in a city of that size. But it was a very entrepreneurial city. It's always been that way.
Right.
And that's what attracted me to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's I don't want to disparage the health community.
I know it's definitely getting better. I mean, there's a growing community. It's so tough to find healthy food here. Like you can't eat out. We have given up eating out. There's only one place we eat out, Urban Market. And you still have to ask them to cook it in butter or olive oil. Yeah. And if you don't ask them, they'll just like automatically use seed oils.
No, I have a friend just coming in from Texas soon that they're asking me, they would take us to the restaurants where they use, I'm like, there aren't any.
Yeah.
There are like 1 or 2, but yeah. She, I thought you'd have the place wired. I said, there's this hot chicken city.
It is.
It's like everything's deep fried in some kind of soybean oil.
Yes.
Oil.
Yeah.
Hot chicken's not even good. It's not even good.
I have not had good hot chicken here. I'm granted I haven't eaten out a lot, but the hot chicken I've had here is average.
I don't know how it got that. I haven't eaten hot chicken.
Good. You're not missing out on much, to be honest.
Yeah. It hurts my stomach. It would hurt my stomach.
I don't know where to start with him. There's a lot. I want to go over like his own health and fitness, like because he's not exactly a young spring chicken. I mean, he looks young. I also want to go over.
Thanks, Jim.
I also want to go over seed oils because I know you interview a lot of people on your podcast about kind of health in general. He can talk about seed oils, fitness for men.
Yeah. Do you want to kind of start that? Because we have some questions here that I guess that can set it could set the topic maybe, because there are some questions about seed oil. There's some questions about men fitness, fatherhood, and stuff like that.
Yes, fatherhood. That's a good one too.
Do you want to start off with the story about the nest and emptiness?
Oh, this is the story I always tell. I always tell how you and Danielle had your first 3 kids pretty young.
We started between like 28 to 29 to maybe about 35, 36.
Okay, so average.
But you guys not that young. I thought it was like 19.
No, I thought it was a little, but still.
We met then and then went different directions for like 6 or 7 years and then came back and got married. It was we met in college. So we've known each other for like more than 30 years. It's amazing.
I was telling Mike that you guys thought you were going to be like empty nesters.
By 50. Yeah, we thought we'd be empty nesters.
And then
along came Jet.
Oh, Jet? I like that name.
Jet, he's 10 now.
Okay.
So we've got 8 more years to go or so.
Wow. And I remember
Jet's out.
Danielle telling us that she was like kind of crying.
I was afraid to eat my food for a while. I slept with one eye open, let me tell you. I was like, are you sure? And that just got me another laser look. So
the youngest is 10. What was the gap between the third and the fourth?
10 years.
Oh.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's really, so how old was the third whenever Jet was born? So 10, duh. So, okay, so
She's a junior in college now.
So you thought in several years, you guys would be
8 years, we're good.
You guys would be done with kids in the house and you'd be free.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're never free because they're so expensive, but you have the time back. You're not carting them from sporting events all over different states nearby, and you're not doing all the school things. You focus on career, you focus on having fun together, traveling.
Right.
So, I mean, but honestly, I think we look back now, it's like, we wouldn't know what to do with each other. We'd be like, I think we just wanted to have one more. We weren't quite ready to be empty nest. We still need to go to a few games. We still need to be on the sideline somewhere, and we weren't ready to be alone with each other just yet. Because, it's just, but it's fun. It's one compared to 3 having to card them everywhere. It's easier, but it still keeps us, I think, engaged in that way, like in a family way.
Yeah.
And he was amazing when he arrived, let's say. It really brought the older kids in closer. And it kind of, because you guys haven't experienced this yet. At some point, Christmas stops being fun and charming and stuff. When you give them toys, it's more like a checklist of tech stuff that you're giving to your kids.
Or like an exchange.
It's more like an exchange, or clothing or jewelry or makeup or whatever. And then suddenly you're buying little kids' toys again, and the magic is back, and there's surprise, and there's Santa, and there's the elf, and there's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's the charm of those kind of holidays are back.
The innocence is back.
Yeah, the innocence
That's
is
what
back.
I was just about to say. When do you think that loss of innocence starts? Is there maybe an age you can point to? We're like,
I think it's
7,
younger every so many years. I think it's getting younger and younger, unfortunately, like everything else. But I'd say it's somewhere between 10 and 12.
Okay.
I'd say middle school's like a death dealer, really, as far as innocence goes.
Yeah.
But like my older son, who would be like 12 years older than him, when he was born, he was just like all over him. He doted on him. He'd hold him for hours at home while we were trying to do stuff. He was just,
oh wow,
it was amazing. So it really brought everyone kind of in a little closer when you just start. Not so much the 10-year-old, the younger girl, but the older two who were like middle school, high school. That's when you start losing that connection a little bit, as far as they don't look up at you like you know everything anymore. You become quite dumb. And then, you're like, they're trying to get their freedom. Right. They're trying to have, which they should, they're trying to have more freedom in time and decisions. And then all of a sudden they were kind of brought back in because there's this little one.
Yeah.
And so it changed the mood in a way we didn't expect.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah. I'm already dreading those years where my daughter looks at me like, you don't know anything. Gives me that look like,
they come back around. Now the oldest one is like telling our youngest, we are so lucky. We have parents like them. I mean, all of a sudden, actually a few years ago, she said, thank you for being so hard on me in high school. And I didn't think I'd hear that for years.
Wow.
But she's like, thank you for making me learn how to do this and have a job and pay my own bills. And because she has friends that still don't know how to do that.
Oh, man.
Or who weren't employed until they left school, or, had the card that just had a never ending debit.
Daddy's card.
Yeah.
What's the gap between your kids apart from the 10-year-old? What was the age gap?
So we got 20, 22, and 26 right now. So there's about 6.
Okay. Close to like me and my brothers, like 3 years apart.
6 year.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's just, and we were constantly going different directions on the road, with sports. All 3 played sports of something. So going in different states, So it was wild. And then all of a sudden you realize your youngest daughter's played her last soccer game, and you kind of go, oh, it's the end of an era. It's the end of like, wow, that was it.
Wow.
And it kind of hits you like, it's the last time I'm going to be standing in this field watching this kid play sports. And then all of a sudden there's the little guy runs up like, oh yeah, wait a minute. We got one up and coming, who's going to be playing like crazy.
Are they all done with college?
No, I have 2 in college still.
Okay,
2 in college. One, but the youngest is a junior. She'll be done after next year. And then the middle boy, the middle of the 3, he's been working, going to school, he should be wrapping up here in the next within a year.
Okay.
Yeah, at the latest. He'll be working in his field, I think, by December. So
cool.
He's just wrapping up a few little
Do you
classes.
have a favorite? I ask every parent of multiple children if we have a favorite. You can whisper it in my ear afterwards. I always ask.
I'm not going to go there.
And I have a couple of friends who actually answer me too.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there.
Really?
But there are some that are more like me than others.
Okay.
You know, that's.
Are they all athletic? You seem like just like a family of athletes.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, pretty athletic, but no. I mean, I think our oldest played 1 year in college, like in a lower division, like a community college volleyball. But they all played all the way through high school and played on club teams through high school and all that kind of stuff. So, and we encourage it just because of what you get from sports, because of a team environment and because of the discipline and the coaching from someone other than your parents and there's
a hierarchy to sports that I think is really important for kids to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the, oh gosh, the word's escaping me now, but basically you have to earn your place. You know what I mean? It's
it's based on merit.
It's based on merit. That's it. It's meritocracy.
Meritocracy, yeah.
For sports, where it's like your coach is going to play the people who play the best, who have the best attitude, who are concerned about the team,
right?
And that's a good teacher, and you need other people encouraging that behavior and teaching other than the parents. If they just hear it from the parents, then again, parents become real stupid by 12, 13 years old. So they're hearing from other people. Then, it's reinforcing those kind of, and then requiring them to get jobs, require them to work, be productive, I think it's super important. They learn so much from jobs, probably more than, I think they learn more from working than they do from school. Honestly.
Yeah. I hear parents say that a lot. I think it's a huge disservice to teens to not make them work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had jobs since freshman year of high school.
Yeah. I started working when I was like 14 too. Yeah.
Do you want to hear a question about fatherhood since we're talking about fatherhood? We could just jump right into it.
Sure.
Who's camera? I'm doing this. Okay. So this question comes from a frequent question asker, Gig Kesmo. I never know how to say his name. Gig Kesmo, whatever. What do you have to say to young men who are afraid of fatherhood?
You'd definitely be afraid of fatherhood.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
It's a fearsome thing, but know that you can do it. It's just that you respect that. You have to respect that responsibility. If you went into fatherhood without some fear and trepidation, you're clueless and you're not taking it seriously. Yeah. And you think you're not going to be involved. Maybe they don't think they're going to be involved. It's like, if you really want to be a good father, it's scary. You're going to the unknown. You're usually experimenting on the first one. My second one tells my youngest, says, "You're lucky. We were experimented on." It's like, it's you going into the unknown. You don't know sure if you're going to measure up. You don't want to bring in your baggage or any kind of trauma you had from your upbringing. You don't want to repeat the mistakes, say the mistakes of your parents that you were modeled, right? You want to bring your best. And so, I say, seek help, get advice, read books, learn, listen, teachers, like you would want to learn any skill.
Yeah. I think for me, I was more frightened about the future and having to deal with certain things and having anxiety like that. Like, oh, what happens, the night where she's really sick and can't go to bed, or what happens if this happens. And then lately I've just been, when it happens, and I'll take care of it. So it hasn't been anything psychological, but more dealing with things that happen to kids. As far as sicknesses is a real thing that I think about constantly, where I shouldn't.
Yeah, it's the unknown though. I mean, when you're going as a new father, it's like it's coming, or you're worried about father. It's your fear is of the unknown, and there's no other way to get the experience other than to do it.
Right.
So your fear of the unknown, when you, like you said, when you get in there and you've done it a couple, okay, we know this, but then every age comes with a new set of unknowns.
Yeah.
And like dealing with a teenager the first time they tell you to,
I hate you or something like that.
Or go jump off of whatever.
Do you remember dealing with that?
Or they flip you off as soon as your head's turned, or it's like, how do I deal with this appropriately? How do I not get angry? How do I?
Oh boy.
How do I bring discipline without abuse?
Right.
Or even if you don't think it's abuse in the moment, it's like, how do I really bring discipline that's a teaching moment, not me retaliating? How do you bring discipline without retaliation? You're human.
Right.
But you're very angry with this person who you used to change their diapers and swallow them. They looked up to you like you were a superhero for 8, 9, 10 years. Then all of a sudden you're not.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's the reality.
Did you end up discipline? It's a hard way to phrase this question. Yeah. Who disciplined the kids the most? Was it you or your wife? Because I can remember personally, my mother was the disciplinarian of the household. It was very rare that my father would either lose his temper or have to take us to the side. It was mostly my mother that did that. Was that you, or was that your wife?
We were pretty balanced.
Yeah.
And discipline was around, because there were times when one maybe like she would be traveling. I was there with all three, and
right.
have to step in and do things. But it just depends. I think it depends on who got triggered first.
Right.
It depends on what it was.
And the kid.
What was the infraction? And the kid.
Yeah.
Right. But what was the infraction? Who got the most, triggered by that? Or who was the most disrespected? So there was definitely a balance, I think, there, not intentionally. It's just kind of like out of circumstance.
Now, what's the gender makeup? Do you have one girl and 3 boys?
Girl, boy, girl, boy.
Girl, boy. Okay, so 2 and 2. Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, yes, right.
Oh, what is it like? Multiple girls and multiple boys?
Well, it's a lot. It's you never have enough bathrooms, first of all.
Yeah.
Never enough bathrooms. And they're all different. All the girls are not the same. And you have one that was super tidy and disciplined, and the other one who was a total slob and couldn't, keep a schedule to save her life. So,
right.
It's just, they're just different. They're just, but I wouldn't ask for anything different that way. It was great.
Yeah. We'll do one more question, and then we can start doing the fun stuff. What we brought Zane on here for. Nariksha, how can men prepare for fatherhood before they have their own kids? You kind of answered this before. There's really no way to prepare other than, I don't know, is there a mental preparation maybe, or not even really?
I would just start educating yourself, whether there's a podcast or however you learn, books. There's plenty of books that help you prepare for fatherhood or being a father that I think give you some perspective on what kind of, if it aligns with your values, what kind of boy you want to raise or what kind of person you want to bring into the world. And so if you can keep those, nothing really prepares you for having to, in the moment, take on this responsibility. You really have to learn by experience.
Yeah. Also, if you have a present father, a loving father, there's a source you can go to right there. So
I go to my mom for questions, even for my baby. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what moms and dads are for.
They should be.
Yeah,
but they should be. The reality is that many of us have issues with our parents that we don't necessarily trust their judgment on certain issues. So it depends on your relationship with your parents and how close they are, but you might find someone who's wiser nearby. But I do think if you're talking, if someone just wants to, I think there's a lot of self-help information out there. If you really would just start thinking about what kind of person do you want to bring in the world? What kind of values do you want them to have? That's where you want to get those values in alignment with your spouse and say, hey, let's figure out what's important to us, what we're going to, and then I'd say with your spouse, if you're saying someone coming into fatherhood, I think really getting on the same page with your spouse about what is important or how you want to deal with, how do we want to discipline this way, or what should we do? Because one person, like I said, is going to handle certain things better than others. Not as you want the less triggered one to be handling it sometimes.
Yeah, that's
and so I'd say a lot of communication between the parents as well to get on the same page. Because when you have conflict there, that's between what's disciplined or what the discipline should be or how you're handling it. Then you have the risk of undermining the discipline altogether, and the kid sees it, picks up on it, and then starts playing the two parents against each other.
Right. The little one started doing that already.
Yeah. Oh,
she started after mom will be like, no, she'll run to me crying.
Run to daddy.
Yeah, run to daddy. Yeah.
But don't one spouse undermine the other one while the discipline is taking place in front of the kid. That's like,
setting yourself up.
You just started invalidated one parent.
Yeah. My mom used to always say, you have to be one You have to be one. You have to agree on it. And I don't have any memories of mom saying one thing and me going to dad and him saying another thing. It was never like that. It was always like, whatever your mother says. It was always like that.
Wise.
And that would drive me crazy because
Wise.
Yeah, because I was a daddy's girl too. I'm like, Dad, but they never disagreed. I mean, they disagreed behind closed doors, I'm sure, but they never showed me that they disagreed.
That's amazing.
And that's
amazing.
That's definitely going to be tough for
It's amazing.
us.
Seed oils.
Okay.
Seed oils.
Keep us running along.
So seed oils is a hot topic now.
Yes.
There are a lot of people that they doubt that seed oils are really that damaging. But can you give us a crash course, a seed oils 101, or even just
We've gotten so many questions on them.
I know. Yeah. I have recently, probably in the last year, I've gotten much more serious about getting rid of seed oils.
Yeah.
And Adriano too, like we both have, because he probably jumped on a little bit later than I did, but he and I have both noticed a really big difference just in everything, in energy levels. The other day when we went to your house, we were on the go, we were running a bunch of errands and we had the baby and we didn't think about bringing food with us. And like I said, we never eat out. We maybe eat out once a month. And if we do, it's at Urban Market and we ask for
the butter they use canola oil probably wherever you guys got food from.
Anywhere and everywhere. First Watch is supposed to be a healthier option. That's how they market themselves. But I mean, every healthy option out there.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying Whole Foods would be the same situation where they consider Whole Food, but it's like, no, it's the plant.
The Whole Foods
problem
hot
is
bar,
health has become associated with plant-based.
Yes.
And it's totally like, I mean, that's a narrative that is not science-based. So just because it's a plant doesn't mean it's a source. It doesn't mean that that's the ideal source. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I was just going to say we have probably one of the few avocado oil brands that isn't cut with seed oils. Because Carly told me, a lot of these avocado oils, they cut them with seed oils.
Olive oils
like
too.
80% of them.
Yeah.
Really? I saw the meme that I think that you posted.
Which one did you find?
I forget it. It's a spray can. It's a white spray can with a little green avocado on it.
Yep.
I forget the name. I could DM it to you.
It'll hit me in a minute. I know
is it? It's not Boulder. Boulder Canyon is a brand that has a lot of avocado.
I don't
Maybe not.
think so. I can, while you guys are talking, I can text her right. Yeah, Chosen. I think. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we pretty much cook everything in butter or ghee. It's so hard. Mm-hmm. We sometimes get the olive oil vats at Urban Market where you can get your own.
Yeah.
Those, I mean, they taste like real olive oil, bitter, grassy. They say
burn the back of your throat.
Yes, it's like peppery.
Yeah,
that's how you know it's good.
That's the polyphenols.
Yes. Yeah. And so for anyone listening or watching, if you don't know how to determine whether an olive oil is good, it's really not about what it looks like. It's about what it tastes like. You can just taste it. If it tastes greasy, it's not good. It should taste grassy and peppery. And the olive oil that we got, we're like, you kind of cough because it's almost, it tickles the back of the throat. So that's how you know it's a good one.
Okay, so seed oils. What are they? Because I've heard how can the oils be bad if the seeds are good? I've explained it only by, and this is not bro science. This is maybe dumb science and not even dumb science. But the temperature at which these things burn can be harmful. The chemical the way that they extract the oils can be bad. So can you give us a quick crash course on it?
I will try to be quick, but it's not a soundbite.
Okay,
it's kind of nerdy.
We got time.
Let's get nerdy.
It's kind of nerdy. So the real offender in the seed oils is the concentration of a fatty acid called linoleic acid. It's a primary omega-6 fatty acid in our food source. Okay, so we know that we're supposed to try to balance omega-6s and omega-3s, and that's why the big push for omega-3s, taking fish oil, all that kind of stuff has been a thing for however many, 10, 20 years. There's no way we could catch up to the amount of omega-6 fatty acids that we're eating by supplementing with omega-3 or eating fish. There's just no possible way. The early on concern is the level of inflammation. So omega-6 fats, we're supposed to have a small amount of them in our system, right? In our food, it's normal. Like would come from nuts, seeds.
Like tallow has 2% linoleic acid.
2 or 3%, something like that. Butter, similar. Coconut oil, 1 or 2%. When you look at canola oil, original safflower oil, they've kind of modified one, but safflower oil, sunflower, there's anywhere between 35 and 76% linoleic acid.
So safflower and sunflower, different oil, different seeds.
Correct.
Okay.
Canola, soybean oil, corn oil.
Vegetable oil.
Any kind of vegetable oil is going to be one of those. Usually they call the hateful eight. So there's rice bran, There's grapeseed. And then rapeseed is just canola. It's just a different name. Okay. Soybean, corn, safflower, sunflower, cottonseed was the original, which was Crisco. Oh, okay. And that's how we got these coming into our food system. Is they took a machine lubricant and said, hey, this kind of looks like lard. We're going into World War I and depression, or the kind of a recession back in the early 1900s. Let's take this machine lubricant, which is a byproduct or throwaway product from processing cotton and cotton seeds, and let's sell it to housewives as a lard alternative. It's a little bit cheaper, easier, and then try to sell it. It's plant, so it's healthy.
But it's a literal machine lubricant.
It was a machine lubricant. It's oil. It's grease from a. Isn't
that crazy?
They took the oil and they hydrogenated it, so it turns into a solid. Became Crisco. Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble, two guys who came here from Europe, and they bought a cottonseed thing.
And they influenced the American Heart Association to teach Americans that it was butter and animal fats that was causing heart disease, and not.
In the 60s, they influenced them with money. Basically, the American Heart Association was nothing before they donated a lot of money to them.
The Sugar Research Association, known today as Sugar Association or something, they also paid
Harvard researchers.
Yes, to say that it's not sugar, it's butter causing heart disease.
It's fat.
Yeah.
And one of those Harvard researchers ended up being part of the council that created our food pyramid. So that took place in the late 60s, and he led to the food pyramid in the 70s. Jeez. But going back to 1912 is when cottonseed oil was turned into Crisco, sold to us as lard. And then they and you can correlate. Actually, Kate Shanahan, who was the former nutrition advisor for the LA Lakers, and she's written a couple of books on the subject, but she has a great chart that correlates.
Deep Nutrition?
There's Deep Nutrition, which is her first one. It's the Fat Burn Fix is the one that goes into, but she wrote Deep Nutrition, amazing book.
Yeah, she's great.
Wrote Fat Burn Fix, which is a little more has a little more in there about seed oils, but she correlates, might be in that book as well, the chart between the increase of metabolic disease, so heart disease, obesity, all that, and these oils coming into our food system, because they did not exist in our food system. They existed in a very small amount in our diet. Okay, so they were maybe like 3 to 6% of the fats we would eat, or the calories we would eat, really. But they were about maybe the omega-6, the linoleic acid originally. So you go back to, say, 1990, let's say 1890. The adipose tissue in our body was probably made up anywhere between, so our fat tissue maybe had a concentration of 5 to maybe at the most 9% of this omega-6, this linoleic acid. Okay, the studies done in 2008, where they actually take sample of adipose body fat, show the average American's concentration of this in his body fat is about 23%. So and they actually compared from 1959 to 2008, it had gone from 9% to 23%.
Yeah, a little more than doubled.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous how much. And so if you correlate that with the increase of disease, so the first paper on a heart attack was done in 1912. Before that, obesity rate was 1%. There were heart attack and diabetes were almost unheard of. Type 2 diabetes, almost unheard of.
Right.
Now, heart attack's number one killer of men. Obesity rate's 45%, heading towards 50 by 2030.
And is that this specifically in the States or pretty much worldwide?
In the States.
Okay.
Those numbers are for the States, but it's increasing. But we've exported this.
Right.
We've exported this to now Japan's not so much obesity, but like their metabolic disease, so heart attack, heart disease is increasing and following ours, because we've got McDonald's, KFC. McDonald's, KFC are two of the biggest, most popular fast food restaurants in chains in Japan now. Right. And you can see their health starting to decline as those restaurants entered in the 70s.
Isn't it so interesting? People back, let's say before 1960, smoking cigarettes without filters, drinking, and still relatively healthy.
For sure.
And it's the food, right?
And
it's
they
the
ate
food that's
they ate a balanced diet.
Everything. Yeah.
They ate potatoes. They ate bread. They weren't
pasta,
no carbing. They weren't going to the gym. They might play basketball in the driveway. They might play golf.
Did people go for runs back then?
No.
I don't think so.
If you went for a run, the cops would be pulling up behind you like, where you headed, buddy?
Right.
What'd you steal?
Yeah, and then all these organizations too convinced Americans to believe that when coconut oil, for example, is at room temperature, it hardens. And so they have taught Americans to believe that that's what happens in your arteries. It clogs your arteries. So people believe that things like butter and fat from red meat and coconut oil is going to clog your arteries because at room temperature it hardens.
That's not what happens in your arteries. You develop plaques from. Actually, what they found is that these oils, because they're unsaturated, they're polyunsaturated, right? So that's nerdy again. So a saturated fat, the chains look very similar, except the saturated fat has all of their bonds between the molecules solid, okay? There's no open bonds. A monounsaturated fat, like you find mostly in olive oil or avocado, has one open double bond where an oxygen molecule could attach, but they don't like to do that to just one molecule. So that monounsaturated fat is usually pretty resistant to oxidation as well, just like a saturated fat. But a polyunsaturated fat has many open double bonds where oxygen molecule or an atom can attach and oxidize it like rust.
Right.
Okay, so oxidation leads to inflammation. You get that in your body. What they found is the oxidized LDL is actually the LDL cholesterol that's causing the offense that leads to heart disease, causing inflammation or the damage that leads to heart disease. So it's oxidized LDL that is in the plaques in heart disease. It is not nice, healthy, fluffy LDL cholesterol.
Right.
So they've seen an increase in oxidized LDL in people's systems through an increase in whether it's corn oil or one of these other seed oil through the polyunsaturated fats in their diet. It's a direct correlation between their diet and the oxidized LDL.
Is the average American just so unbothered by this and just doesn't care to look into it and is just happy and complicit eating junk? Do you think?
That's how the federal government wants you. And we have been programmed so much subconsciously since being a kid on what it means to be healthy. Like, how much have we had whole grains instilled in our mind? Like, whole grains are good for you. Whole grains are heart healthy.
Good luck finding a whole grain.
Exactly.
What's a whole grain? Is it bread?
Yeah.
Is bread whole grain? No.
Yeah, exactly.
And the oils are in there, and so is high fructose corn syrup. But the narrative from the food pyramid, from the plate, to the point of scaring people about eating eggs and dietary cholesterol. Dietary cholesterol was removed from as a limit. Okay, we used to have a limit on dietary cholesterol in our USDA food guidelines. That was removed in 2015, and that's if their USDA is willing to lift that, that means the evidence was there long before. There is no risk from dietary cholesterol. Yet I still get people saying, "What about the cholesterol in eggs or in this?" And some doctors still believe that.
Many.
Yeah.
Many do.
Even though it was removed from the gut, there's no more an upper limit because it has no effect on your serum cholesterol levels. Saturated fat is still, there's people fighting to get saturated fat removed from limitations, but because they're recommending these oils based on who their sponsors are. Who's sponsoring the research? It's Coke, it's General Mills, it's Unilever, it's Pepsi.
Just big money.
It's ConAgra. It's the people making all the processed food in the aisles in your grocery store.
And a lot of times these studies, it's not disclosed what kind of money the scientists are making. So there's in 1967, the New England Journal of Medicine, published this review basically saying the same thing we're talking about, that it's not it's not sugar or it's not things like seed oils that are causing heart disease, it's butter. And it was not disclosed that every single scientist in that review got paid $50,000 from the Sugar Association. So the problem too is that even if Americans want to look into these studies, even if they're curious, I wonder where this comes from. A lot of times it's not even disclosed.
They don't know who the corporations are who are
publicized.
Right.
So the studies they want publicized are the ones who make it in the press. There's tons of I have a list of studies that show that these oils lead to disease of many types, from cancer, heart disease, obesity, insulin resistance, so diabetes, fatty liver disease, low testosterone. There's a number of studies, they don't make the press because they don't want it to. Did you see the Hunger, Health, and Nutrition conference that just happened at the White House?
Yep,
right?
the FDA is going to redefine what healthy means now.
Well, the co-chair of that is this guy, Mossafari, and he's from Tufts School of Nutrition, right? He developed something called the Food Compass. Well, he co-chaired this. So this Food Compass has a ranking of food based on nutrients, right? Well, someone did a paper on his Food Compass. Frosted mini wheats are at the top, or in the recommended food list, okay? The to be modified or moderated is Lucky Charms, almond M&Ms, and ice cream with nuts. To be limited or avoided is an egg cooked in butter and ground beef.
Yeah.
So the
I saw that.
Processed cereals are ranked higher than an egg cooked in butter and ground beef. This is the co-chair.
Who is this guy?
Yeah, I think I can pull this up.
Last name is Mossafarian. He's a Tufts school nutrition guy. Of course, he's funded by Gates Foundation and Rockefeller, and those are his funding sources, as well as all the other big names in processed food. So what do you think is going to become policy?
Right.
His food compass.
Mm-hmm. It's going to take over the food pyramid.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing, just in a different format.
Yeah.
I have it right here, and I'll send this to you so you can put it up. But you can see.
That's it. That's the paper on it. Who rates it? Yeah, look at those at the green list.
So the green list is watermelon, kale, frosted mini wheats, unsweetened almond milk, non-fat frozen yogurt, chocolate-covered almonds, orange juice with calcium, honey nut Cheerios.
Highly recommended foods.
These are the recommended foods. They're in the green zone.
The green zone.
Green means go.
Oh, okay. I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that.
Green means go. And then in the yellow sections, warning, sweet potato fries or chips, millet, egg substitute fried in vegetable oil, skinless chicken breast, Lucky Charms, whole wheat bread, canned pineapple. Okay, and so at the bottom, there are 3. Just like you said, whole egg fried in butter, cheddar cheese, and ground beef.
Ground beef is great.
And then I want to also talk about raw dairy. The fact that we have been believed that unpasteurized milk is going to kill you. Mm-hmm. And you'll have federal officials that will raid an Amish farm and like put these people in handcuffs because heaven forbid they're selling milk straight from a cow's udder.
Yeah.
Like
goat.
It's insane.
Can't do that.
Goat, cow, which is even more bioidentical than cow's milk for us. But it's just, you have to buy it labeled pet milk, don't you?
Yeah. It has to be for cosmetic use only.
Goat's milk is the closest thing to human breast milk for a baby,
it's
I think.
Closer, it's closer. It's an A2. Like if you see, I don't know if you see in the grocery store now, we have A2 milk because there's certain, A2 only comes from like 2 or 3 breeds of cow. Mm-hmm. And then all the other milk is an A1, which is a protein that we tend to be some people are more allergic to or have a reaction to, like more inflammatory. Maybe they can't digest it as well. The A2 is more, and they're starting to, I think Asians tend to be more sensitive to milk and dairy than say someone who's from Sweden, from Northern Europe. So there's a little bit of genetic playing in there, but there's certain milks that are just more friendly to humans. Mm-hmm. And goat is one of them. If it's fermented, and you've got all or basically not pasteurized, or if they ferment it into yogurt, then you've got all the bacteria in there to help you digest it well and create that biome that is friendly to dairy. So you can process those nutrients. And
there was one chart I saw, or one study that was showing that Americans actually have not increased our calorie consumption over the last 60 years.
Right.
The calorie consumption has actually stayed pretty much the same over the last 60 to 70 years. So what's going on here? Like that, this is why the whole idea, people are like, because I'll post a lot of, as you do, health and fitness content, and I, try to educate women on what it actually means to lose weight and shed excess body fat, because there's a lot of information out there that's conflicting, and I'll always have some bozo in the comments being like, "You're so dumb, man. Just tell women eat less if they want to lose weight." I'm like, you know how retarded you sound? Like, Americans have not been eating a higher amount of calories over the last 60 years. Something is going on with our food. It's really not all calories in, calories out. Max Lugavere, who you probably follow, he's great.
Brilliant.
He's brilliant. I know when he's in town, he's going to come on the show. But he says that telling someone to just eat less if they want to lose weight is just as stupid as saying, "Oh, you're poor, well, you should get more money." Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's a lot more factors that go into weight loss, into health in general, and the quality of our calories. There's something seriously wrong, and kind of like
hormones.
You mentioned,
hormones is a big part of it,
huge part of it, and then also all these seed oils. Like the way that it affects your fatty tissue is so different than anything else we eat.
It also attacks our mitochondria. So the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of your cell, that's where energy comes from. The mitochondria determines whether that cell lives or dies if it becomes damaged, right? So these oils, we oxidize fats and carbohydrates and energy into the cell, but into the mitochondria, and it turns it into ATP, so into energy, right? And so you were a biology. Were you a biology?
No, not me. That was a different Asian.
Sorry. Oh, ouch. No, I remember you went to Emory, and that's just I just think of that place as a science.
Yeah, because it was pre-med,
Okay. So I'm sorry. Wow. Gotta watch myself.
I wish. I should have studied biology.
Can I interject for a moment? Because I know we're bringing this up probably 40 minutes into the episode. A quick background of what you did professionally, or what you do professionally as far as nutrition, health, and all that stuff.
I'm a trainer and a nutrition coach. So I do meet some people one-on-one in their homes to work out. I also have people I coach remotely through Zoom, phone, basically on lifestyle coaching. So it's like, let's get, accountability. Let's change your diet. work towards, a lot of them are either trying to reverse disease or lose weight, something like that, get them off their meds.
Gotcha. And a PhD in bro science.
PhD in bro science, that's right.
Okay.
I just wanted to get the credentials.
Okay, the mitochondria, that's what
So it attacks the mitochondria to the point that mitochondria actually produces less energy, and it affects it to the point that the mitochondria may actually die or become inactive. Mm-hmm. So you're creating essentially cell death, but the mitochondria is responsible for creating energy. Well, if you have calories coming in and no energy is coming out, that's going to affect how your body responds to, maybe your hunger. You're eating, suddenly you're lethargic. You don't have as much energy. You're damaging the very part of your cell that creates energy. So how are you going to respond? You're not going to be very active. You're probably going to want to eat more. You might have some cravings for it. Your blood sugar is going to be affected. You are really messing with how our metabolism works with these. And we're supposed to, like I said, it's supposed to have a very small amount. And now these oils are making up 23% of our diet. They should be taking up 3 to 6% of our diet. They're now 23% of our calories are from these oils. So it's not that this thing is that's the thing is what's confusing. It's because these were in the almonds. They're in nuts. They're in some seeds. They're in certain foods we would eat. Often, traditionally, when other food was scarce, when maybe meat was scarce. So we're eating, when do nuts come into season? August, September. We store them away. They keep for a long time. So they're a winter food. Yeah. You eat some more nuts, maybe you put on a little fat, who knows, but they keep you through the winter with a balanced kind of diet, right? But the concentration of these fatty acid is small in the amount that you eat. And as soon as meat comes back, spring, and you're eating a more variety of food and vegetables and fruit and all that, your diet changes. So it's traditionally, right? Mm-hmm. But we still had it in our diet, but in a much smaller concentration. Right. The thing is, they're in every processed food. Good luck finding a processed food that does not have it in there, or a restaurant that doesn't cook with it. Mm-hmm. And that's all we eat is processed food. Mm-hmm. And restaurant food. We are 65% of our diet is processed food, I believe, in this country.
Yeah.
On average.
Yeah. Do you remember I was telling you about looking for potato chips? And the only ones that I get are Siete, because they use avocado oil for their tortilla chips, but then they use almond flour for their tortilla chips. But their potato chips are avocado oil. And every other potato chip on the shelf,
soybean oil,
sunflower oil, canola oil.
Yep.
It's like, why? And I asked, I was like, why don't they all use avocado oil? Someone was like, it's probably less expensive.
A lot less expensive.
Yeah.
That oil, it's a byproduct. It's a waste product that we've turned into the staple. McDonald's fried their fries in tallow until 92. And the 80s, your popcorn was popped in the movie theater was popped in coconut oil.
Oh, really?
Yes. So there was a shift. And they really, it was coming in from Malaysia. There's a whole campaign against Malaysians, and it was like derogatory towards Asia because these coconut oils and palm oils were coming in from Malaysia. And there was this guy leveraged this huge campaign against these fats in favor of the oils that we're producing here from soy, corn, and
AJAC going nuts right now.
And canola, which is Canada. What do we subsidize the most in this country? Wheat, soy, and corn.
Corn.
Yeah. Those are the three big subsidies.
Whoa. Here's a question. When I do my meats in the cast iron, and I'm not talking about like cuts of beef or whatever, but ground beef.
Sure.
I don't normally put any oil down. I just heat the pan up, put the meat down, and it creates its own fat.
Yes.
Is it okay to do a little bit of avocado oil with that meat, or it's just not necessary for the fat? And my wife saves the fat now.
I don't think it's necessary. So this is where you have to choose your risk, right? And everyone, choose your risk to benefit ratio. What is best for you? Avocado oil is about 14% of this linoleic acid. Olive oil is about 9 to 11%, depending on, and that's if you have the pure one. Mm-hmm. So if you want to keep it from sticking, you're just spraying a little bit of avocado oil and it makes it clean up easier for you.
I like the stick, a little bit of crunch.
Oh, you like the little crispiness? I like
a little bit of the crispiness. Why not?
Yeah, throw some tallow in there. Throw some lard if you want. Throw some.
My wife has been using this. What's the thing that she uses? It's like a yogurt, but it's not. Is it ghee? Oh, sorry. Is it? He was looking at like.
Oh no.
What is it? I gotta keep on.
Wait.
Keep on talking. I gotta
describe what you're talking about.
It's the kefir.
Kefir.
Kefir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or kefir.
That's just yogurt.
Yeah, it's just yogurt, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
That's great.
Yeah, she had a question for you, Gina. Talk.
What do you eat for breakfast? You eat steak?
I rarely eat breakfast.
Okay.
When I do.
Oh, yes. This is okay. Keep going.
Yeah. I didn't eat till noon today. So breakfast is like, well, how do you turn breakfast in the morning? A couple of days a week, I make myself eat something kind of early because I tend to leverage my stressors like weight training and low carb and fasting. And at my age, at this point, I kind of have to watch that I don't overdo it and overtrain, create too much stress.
I want my biceps to look like that.
Yeah.
Look like that.
I try to get myself to eat early, but usually it's some kind of meat and eggs.
Right.
Yeah. And if I've just worked out, I usually try to work out fastest. So I try to get my workout in first. If it's anywhere between 2 o'clock, before 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll try to work out and then eat. So if I've worked out, I'll definitely include a carb of something like half a sweet potato or maybe a banana just to help recovery a little faster. Otherwise, you're turning protein, which is not bad, but the benefit of protein, higher protein diet is that if you need glycogen, if you need glucose, you can turn that protein into glucose. It's just a slower process and it's more regulated by your liver. If you eat the carbs, it's going right in. And, so I don't have a problem I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm just trying to sustain and recover.
Right.
So a little carb with my meat is fine, but I'm going to eat protein first and prioritize it. So sometimes it's a combination of meat and eggs or just meat. Depends on what it is.
You know what the best breakfast that I had recently was? Carly made homemade sprouted wheat bread. And I had gotten some shaved ribeye. You know the stuff like they make Philly cheesesteak but shaved?
Yes.
So I made eggs, shaved ribeye. I had that bread toasted with some jam and it was fantastic.
Oh.
I didn't work out though.
I bet it lit your brain right up though.
Oh yeah.
That you're like, wow.
It really did. Yeah.
Dopamine
Coffee
going
would have
crazy.
been nice. Coffee would have been nice.
Do you drink coffee, Zane?
Oh my, yes.
Yeah.
I have 4 children.
Oh my God.
I actually was down to like half a cup a day and then Jet came along, and I'm like, okay, forget it. I'm not giving up coffee. I didn't start drinking coffee until we got married and had the reverse little one run around. That's when I really became a coffee. I mean, I would have it occasionally as like a recreation, like a social thing, but it was not like a part of my routine until kids. And then when kids got a little older, I was like, oh, 8, 9, 10-year-old.
Wean off.
Yeah. And I weaned off a cup, half a cup, and then I'm like, no, forget it.
And then Jet came along.
But then Jet came along in the
So
40s.
any health benefits to coffee in your opinion?
Boy, you put me on the spot on that one.
I have to because we have a guest and a friend of ours that
There are two sides of
Anti-caffeine.
that. There are two sides of that I'm going to say, you know what? I appreciate someone who doesn't want to put something that could be inflammatory in their body, or they want to be off of caffeine and it affects them one way. Because I think caffeine affects different people
Yes.
yeah.
in different ways. And I don't think it's just the caffeine. Like the people who are avoiding coffee, sometimes it's the polyphenols. They don't want more polyphenols. They don't want more stressors. And I'm like,
That was
okay.
it for me. I think it honestly made me more anxious.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me
Whereas
too.
I'm like, if it keeps me from killing somebody, then if it helps me with my patients or gets me out the door, like I met my first client at 5:45 this morning.
Whoa.
I enjoy, I'm not eating, but I enjoy a hot cup of coffee
Same.
on this fall morning,
That's
any
what
morning,
Adriano is
really.
too.
But at 5:45, we go, okay, I'm a little more snappy. I'm just, it feels good to me. It tastes good. Some people think the polyphenols are good. There's studies showing, hey, longevity with coffee. I just have to watch it as long as it doesn't affect your sleep. And for me, sleep's a big thing. So I don't drink it after, say, 1 or 2.
So
Okay.
the Oura Ring, do you use the Oura Ring?
Oh, I
still?
definitely use. I'm just not wearing it at the moment, but I definitely use the Oura Ring to track my sleep and see how it affects it. So I don't want to say it's good for you or it's bad for you. I think again, it's a risk to benefit ratio. How does it affect you? Does it make you a better person in the morning? And if you're not eating, then it can help with that, stimulating the fat burning, stimulating cortisol, caffeine, because that gets you releasing
caffeine's
energy.
in the pre-workout that people have, right?
Yeah. I never
I
did the
definitely,
pre-workout.
I mean, I think caffeine's a great pre-workout. Don't eat sugar.
Mm-hmm.
I want to burn my own fuel that I've already got on board.
I'm saying because I'm saying yeah to what he's saying. I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily agreeing or disagreeing. I don't know better. I got a question from one of our guys in the men's club. He wants to know any tips for people hypersensitive to carbs. Not enough people talk about this, he says.
Hypersensitive to carbs.
Mm-hmm.
So he probably shouldn't eat so much of them,
Right.
and have them with protein. I mean, he doesn't need a lot of them.
I always thought carbs were the things that make your brain function.
Here's
Fat.
the deal. Your body can create
Fat does.
glucose
Okay.
on its own, which is glucose is blood sugar. So whether it's for your brain, which is it's a hungry glucose hog, right? Probably it requires more energy than anything else in your body. It does. And it will use 30-40% glucose for its energy, but your liver makes glucose.
Okay.
Your liver can turn protein or muscle and break down muscle and turn that into glucose as needed. You don't have to eat it. If he were to limit the amount, like keep it under 100 grams a day or whatever it is that doesn't affect his sensitivity for him, eat it with some protein and fat, like you were saying, and slow down the absorption of it and have a complex carb. Like don't eat processed carbs. Even fruit would be, with some fiber in it would be good. Sweet potatoes are a little more fibrous, low sugar fruits like squashes, eggplant, those kind of things that are really, some of them think of them as vegetables, but they're really just low sugar fruit.
Yeah.
They have some carb, but it's a slower digesting carb. And then manage it. Don't eat it twice a day, maybe. Be enough for him.
I got to tell you though, what you said about the people that were criticizing you, like eat less, it's how she'll lose weight or whatever. Gosh. I got to tell you, when I lost my pouch and got my abs, I wasn't eating less. I was actually eating more protein.
Telling you,
like my protein intake was.
Yep. Happens to my clients all the time. So many women, I tell them you need to eat more, you need to eat this, and they're like, no. But I know if I eat that much, I'm gonna gain weight. And they eat more, and they eat the right things, and then they get shredded. And it's because women, especially, it's like it's been drilled into us. Programmed into us that we need to eat 1,000 calories a day. If you just eat like 1,000 calories a day, and if I just have salads every day, like I'm definitely going to lose weight.
Eat light, plants.
Eat light. And
yogurt
the next thing you know,
it's
like granola.
If that's the heaviest thing you're eating, I'm sorry, but you're eating dessert.
Yeah, exactly. All the time. And then 6 months have gone by, and not only have they not lost weight, they've gained weight. And then they try to eat even less and less and less, and their metabolism is just not working. And so I've got women, they don't eat until like 11 o'clock or something. And I want to talk to you about fasting after this. Sure. But I have them start eating breakfast at 7 a.m. You have a protein-rich breakfast at 7 a.m. And then I have them eat every couple of hours. Very protein rich, obviously nutrient dense foods, get rid of the processed foods. And then they've eaten more than they've ever eaten before. And then in 2 months, they're looking down and their jeans aren't fitting anymore. I mean, it's incredible. And that's why this whole concept of, you just need to eat less, it doesn't even begin to scratch at the surface.
Okay, so 2 questions before we get into fasting, because one of them actually has to deal with a little bit of fasting. Here's question number 1 for you. It's a quick answer. Is Gina still doing one-to-one coaching for women?
I don't have one-to-one spots open now. I do have a 10-week group challenge spots open for that. And it's a small group.
Okay.
So you can go to, I think myhealthshift.com/10week, or you can just go to the link in my Instagram bio. I am taking spots for that right now until October 16th.
So here's the second question. Drinking half your weight in water, is it beneficial since it depletes minerals faster? I've never heard of this. And I asked Carly, I was like, does someone expect me to have 70 pounds of water every day?
No. Half your weight, ounces.
So ounces. Oh, okay.
Ounces.
Yeah.
That's not a bad number.
Okay.
That's not a bad number.
Okay.
And you can always add minerals to your water. You can add minerals to your water.
Yeah. My wife got like the little bit of the salt mineral that you can add.
The electrolytes.
Our Berkey takes everything out of the water.
You can drink so much water that it's hyperemia, and it happens to runners all the time. They're just drinking water as they're running and they're losing minerals. But hypertremia, I'm probably saying it wrong, but something like that. You flush out the magnesium and potassium and you start having an issue, or you could have heart palpitations,
right.
That kind of thing. So add minerals to your water. Okay. But that's a good number, but it's not a magic formula.
Right.
There's like, people have put this magic thing around, drink all the water for weight loss. It's like, no, you still got all kinds of other crap coming in your body. The water's not going to.
Right.
A protein breakfast is a great way to start your day, eating the most nutrient dense, beneficial food you can, especially I think with women who have been dieting or under eating for a long time. They've lost some of their muscle, right? And so there's nothing stimulating muscle protein synthesis. So you're just kicking it right their morning off with muscle protein synthesis. Plus, they're satiated. They're eating that much protein and fat that's going to come with it. This just comes right along with an animal.
Way less sugar cravings too.
Way less sugar cravings. They're not going to be hungry for hours. They're not, because they're lying to you if they say they're not eating. They're hungry like that. They eat breakfast. If someone's got some little Snicker thing about that big sitting on their desk, they're grabbing it, even if nobody's looking. They're going to grab it. They're going to eat it. People are snackers like that.
He gets women. He gets women right here. That's how women
I've
are.
lived with a few. But and that's everybody. It's just, if you don't want to start, if you're struggling with getting your diet in place and you're used to kind of grazing and eating a little this, a little that, 3 meals a day, start with a breakfast and just fit it in there with and eliminate snacking and really focus on eating a meal that's going to get you to your next meal that's nutrient dense food that you need. That's huge. What a benefit. Go back to the 50s. How did we eat in the 50s? We ate 3 meals. We ate breakfast, lunch, dinner. We weren't snacking all the time. We usually ate within a 12-hour period. Usually, probably, maybe they ate breakfast at like 6:37.
Ate dinner at 6.
Yeah, and then they have dinner at 5:30, 6 o'clock when Dad gets home. And it's like...
Yeah, I should ask my dad that.
And they were
46.
eating hot roast, potatoes, maybe some vegetables. Yeah. They were eating good American typical food, balanced diet. It wasn't low carb.
Well, just like snacking in general. Like I want to ask him, did you eat snacks? Do you remember?
And it didn't come out of a box, a bag, or a bottle.
Cracker Jacks.
That's at the ballpark.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
They couldn't have. No, Coke used to be more expensive because sugar was more expensive. We brought high fructose corn syrup in the late 60s. It got really cheap. Suddenly
they were
the price
using
of Coke
actual sugar
went down, but which made the cost go up. So maybe someone could afford 1 Coke a week instead of 1 Coke a day.
Yeah.
But it's not, I really don't think it was the sugar or the carbs or the Coke or anything else that really ruined our diet. I think it was these oils made us more susceptible. It's seeing more and more with the research coming from these oils. I have to circle back. But I think they made us more susceptible, more vulnerable to insulin resistance, which is what leads to diabetes and obesity. And it gave us a more inflammatory state so that we did not handle the potatoes, the rice, the pastas, all the things we were eating and people have eaten for hundreds of years in a balanced way,
right? Without
getting fat and without running on the treadmill for hours. I really think it was these oils that threw our system off and made us more sensitive to insulin resistance and obesity. And then these carbohydrates, which makes us less tolerant of carbohydrates. So it was not the carbohydrates. Now to reverse that, you need to get rid of those and probably the carbohydrates to reverse the disease. Okay, that would help you. But I think what triggered it, what kicked it off, if you look at a timeline, we used to eat potatoes and make pies and do all these things in the 1800s that were farmhouse food. Right. Okay, it wasn't high protein, low carb by any stretch. We were feeding families and trying to fill bellies. Corn, I mean, anything you could make food with, they were making it with, but it came from a whole food source.
Right.
We don't eat whole food sources anymore. No. I think
that correlation makes too much sense.
And it just set up our system to be more sensitive or just more inflammatory and less resilient to the carbohydrates coming in. We didn't process them well, and we have our mitochondria shutting down. We have these things triggering obesity and insulin resistance. We're not going to be able to process carbohydrates well. So I really think they were the first offender in our diet. And the sugar didn't come along until the 60s or 70s, but this stuff was already in place in the 1920s and 30s. It was slowly increasing in our diet. Okay. And that's when we saw the heart disease become the focus with, I think it was Eisenhower. I think it was maybe one of the presidents had heart. And so that's when Ansel Keys came in.
Ansel Keys, that was the 50s.
And started doing his studies, which were very skewed.
So he was a pathologist who was enlisted by the Minnesota Health Department to find a culprit for all of these heart attacks that were happening. And so he was, enlisted to find a reason for heart disease. And so he pulled data from 6 different countries and he connected saturated fat to heart disease. So this is where the whole narrative of butter and red meat causes heart disease, which many people still believe to this day. Yeah. He very conveniently left out a lot of other factors.
In other countries.
And 16 other countries. He left out data from 16 other countries, including and especially France. I mean, how much saturated fat do they eat? And at the time, they did not have a heart disease epidemic. I don't know if they do today. They probably don't today
either.
It's increasing, but definitely not to the level that is in the US. So he then published this 7-country study. And he enlisted support from Procter & Gamble, which were producing a lot of these vegetable oils. There's a really high profit margin. Right. Margarine too. And then he had Procter & Gamble influence the American Heart Association, which we kind of mentioned earlier, to teach Americans that what the cause of heart disease is are the butter and the red meat and the ground beef that you're eating. And so that's who Ansel Keys is. And there's even a lot of stuff. So he lived until he was like 99. And there's a lot of information out there saying that he didn't even follow
He kind of said, I probably was a little too, saturated fat probably didn't do what I say it did. But as he got into the 80s and 90s, he was like a little more, he backed off a little bit. But there were studies done in the 60s and 70s, led in the 60s, 2 huge studies. One was the Sydney Diet Heart Study. The other was a Minnesota coronary experiment. They actually found, they substituted saturated fat in the diet with Minnesota coronary heart study. It was corn oil and corn oil margarine. Sydney, they used safflower oil and safflower oil-based margarine. The one in Sydney was 850 men who had already had coronary heart disease. The one in Minnesota was 9,500 people, men and women, who had had some sort of heart disease. In Sydney, they found the people who had the safflower oil had higher rates of all-cause mortality and more deaths from coronary heart disease and cardiovascular disease than those who just had their normal saturated fat diet. Minnesota, they had they lowered their cholesterol, but they had a higher rates of all-cause mortality in the people who had the safflower oil as opposed to the control group. They actually lowered their cholesterol on average from 205, so total cholesterol from 205 milligrams to 175 milligrams. What they found was there's an increased rate of death from all causes by 22%. Increased risk of death for every 30 milligrams they lowered cholesterol.
Wow.
So there's a theory that the cholesterol, like why does the cholesterol go down when we eat these oils? There's a theory that when it oxidizes the fat gets oxidized, it doesn't show up as being cholesterol in the tests because it's oxidized, so it actually changes the way your body treats it. It stays in circulation longer in your bloodstream because your body doesn't take up the cholesterol as a nutrient. You use cholesterol as a necessary nutrient. We die without it. We use it for cell walls. We use it for hormone production. Brain weight, 15% of your brain is cholesterol. So when it's in healthy cholesterol in circulation, we take it up. When it's oxidized, it stays in circulation, and that's when it starts getting trapped in the cracks and fissures in the arteries, and we have the foam cells and all that kind of stuff. So the idea is they basically, when they substituted these oils, they had higher rates of death than the normal, just the basic diet. They didn't publish these studies. One was 65 to 73, there was 68 to 73, something like that. Neither published the data. It was found in 2000s by this guy, Chris Ramsden, who reevaluated the data. He published the Sydney Diet Heart Study in 2013, the other Minnesota in 2016. And this is why we know what the outcome was. They didn't like how it turned out. They said, I can't believe it's not butter, because basically is what they're saying. I mean, it's like, no, it's the margarine, buddy.
Right.
It's the margarine. It wasn't the butter. Oh. So we had data. And there's tons of these studies showing, but it doesn't make the headlines. Yeah. It's not what they want to talk about. It doesn't sell food.
This is why we've talked about this with Kai a couple times. It is the state's duty to promote the good. And that's why people are like, oh, abolish the FDA. The federal government shouldn't be telling you anything about your health and food in general. I no longer believe that. I think that the state should play a very real role in educating Americans on what it means to be healthy and what it means to eat good food and what it means to take care of yourself, because the state needs to promote the good. That's just an interjection I wanted to say.
They try, but
it's wrong.
They
certainly shouldn't lie to us.
Right,
That's exactly my point, is that they should not lie to us.
Based
the problem,
on dollars.
Based on dollars.
Because the Nutrition Academy, which creates the education for all the registered dietitians, and when it determines whether these registered dietitians have completed their studies and gives them, their funding, their sponsorship is Coke, Pepsi, General Mills, ConAgra, Unilever. It's all the biggest processed food companies in the country sponsor our Nutrition Academy, which creates our education.
Not good.
And that determines our food. The USDA, okay, that determines the food for the schools, the hospitals, the military.
Yeah,
that's what they get fed. They get based on those guidelines.
What would that be? That'd be like Boeing or any defense contracting company funding West Point. Just like, oh, here's who gives us the money. It's the people who make.
Well, it's poisoning.
Yeah,
us from the ground up, from school on up.
They want you sick, fat, and complicit,
and on medications.
Exactly.
Fasting, go.
Okay. Fasting. So,
all right.
I've been listening to a lot of hormone experts who talk, to women about how to naturally balance hormones, how to naturally regulate your menstrual cycle. And so there's two parts of this. I'll say from my own anecdotal experience with my own diet and also with female clients, I noticed that intermittent fasting just does not work in terms of a couple things: regulating cycle, also just feeling great in general, and weight loss. And then on top of that, secondly, I've just been listening to a lot of hormone experts explaining how in order to have a healthy hormone cycle in your body, especially if you're trying to recover from the birth control pill, it's really important to regulate blood sugar and eat regularly throughout the day. And I know you're a really big fan of intermittent fasting. And I wonder if you have read much or know much about the differences between men and women, and whether fasting just isn't as well suited to women as it is to men.
Okay. That's also not a soundbite.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
I do think women would tend to be more sensitive to a downside on intermittent fasting. Because of that, they can be. Thyroid plays a big role in that. So intermittent fasting, too much of it or a lot of it, depending on the person, can affect thyroid. So it can overstress the thyroid stimulating hormone, okay, which would affect how much thyroid you're putting out, and could cause, which would affect how you metabolize food and how you burn energy, right? Also with female hormones, your hormones change. I mean, I know women who change the way they eat based on where they are in their cycle, follicular cycle, versus like bodybuilders, for instance. They will curb their carb intake and what kind of workouts they're doing based on how much cardio they're doing, based on where they are in their cycle, which 2-week, part of their cycle they're in. So there is a lot more to how to really manage the female cycle that we don't know. And I know some women who swear by intermittent fasting, who love it. And I'm talking about just an 8-hour window or a 9-hour window. I'm not talking about one meal a day.
Right.
One meal a day is hard on most people, and you probably should do it more than twice a week. And men are going to be more resilient to that just because we don't have as many hormones. We don't have the hormone fluctuations.
And you guys are on a 24-hour hormonal cycle versus us, 28-day, 20 to 30-day.
Right. And we're not trying to create a child.
Yeah.
Which is your body's in a mode to actually create another human for a period of time there. And it's so men and women are different. You might have heard someone say that once. Men and women are supposed to be different. We have different needs. Like men coagulate faster than women. Our blood coagulates because if we get cut, we get hurt. So
your skin is thicker than ours.
Skin's thicker. We have so many differences that for someone to say it has no impact on men or women, we're all the same, that's silly. That's silly. I think there's a lot we do not know. I think there are some women who do well with it and manage it well, and that's fine. But I think we need to acknowledge that there are some, especially women, who are going to be more sensitive to going a long period of time under that metabolic stress based on that. There might be another way to create that metabolic stress, like through exercise or through just lowering carbohydrates. That creates metabolic stress because then you have to convert the protein into glucose. You've got to break down this food. So it just depends on degrees of metabolic stress. If you give a woman a protein meal, breakfast and lunch, and she has some protein and carbs at dinner, and that's 3 meals, and there's no snacking in the middle, that might be all the metabolic stress she needs.
Okay. Right.
Whereas some women might be less sensitive, more resilient to it. But I think what you're seeing is that there's no cookie cutter. And we have to start listening to people and say, this is how I felt. Okay, well, let's modify this. And I a few years ago, I wouldn't have known or understood so much the impact of that. But I can tell you that even as being 51, I cannot leverage fasting, my workouts, and low carb like I did 5 or 6 years ago. I will start to get into a state of overtraining, too much stress. I don't sleep as well. Cortisol is probably higher. So I can imagine that a woman who's in a point in her life where she is, her body's ready to create a child if the moment is right? If all things go well. And whereas when she's older, maybe it's not the same. Maybe when she's in menopause, it's not the same.
Right.
But I don't want to create a canned response like it's good for women or bad for women and good for men. I think we have to acknowledge the fact that there are some women who are going to do better with just 3 meals where you control the macronutrients and the nutrient density and then manage other aspects of their life like stress. Would you say that women now are under a certain amount of stress that they may not have been under, 50 years ago, 80 years ago? Emotional stress, job stress.
Of course.
I mean,
a lot of it is we're trying to function in the world as men. That's a stressful thing.
How about a single family home?
Yeah.
That's a stressor. Age is a stressor.
Yeah.
How many kids you have is a stressor. What's expected of you between work and home duties is a stressor. These are all stressors. We have to manage the stressors. And if we overdo the stress, our body's going to pull back. It's going to tell us this is not working. And stress hormones are something, that can affect your insulin sensitivity, affect your cravings. It can affect your energy level, your sleep. Sleep can affect how quickly, they've done studies on, say, med students who are doing those weird rotations where they're
12-hour shifts,
12-hour shifts or more. Some say 18. They're not supposed to do that anymore, but it happens where they're sleeping 4 hours a night for 5 nights a week. Their blood work looks like a diabetic, and they're 25 years old, 26 years old. So we're constantly looking at just food, and we need to look at the whole lifestyle. What is going on in that person's life, and how is their genetics, their body responding to those stressors? So it's like, I wouldn't put it, that's why I said it's not a soundbite.
It depends.
It depends on the person and what else they have going on.
Right.
And you just listen to them. It's like, what is your body telling you? Okay, well, there's no way to modify this.
Yeah.
And but we know some basic principles, and that, we can feed the good tissue with protein and fats, nutrient-dense fat. And we can balance hormones that way. But we need to look at it as hormones. We need to acknowledge hormones with the way we eat, with the way we sleep, and acknowledge the fact that women's hormones are going to respond differently than men. And from woman to woman, it's going to be different.
And different times of the month, too. It's going to be different.
Here's a question.
That's for sure.
That's for sure.
This follower says, I multiplied my weight by 0.8 to see my protein intake, and it's higher than 200. How do I get in more than 200 grams of protein in a day? I'm a female.
You don't need to get I don't think you need to get more than 200 grams of protein a day as a female. I mean, Zane might have a different take on that, but
what was the math on that? She multiplied her
by 0.8.
Her body weight in pounds by 0.8.
So that means she weighs over 200 pounds.
Yeah.
So I would go, first of all, if you're trying to set a protein goal, start with your ideal body weight. Is your ideal body weight over 200? For most women, I would say probably not.
Right.
She's probably trying to get to, say, maybe in the 160, 170 range. Start with that, and then say multiply it by 0.75 to 1 as depending on how much other food you're eating, and see how that works for you. Most women can get to at least 100 if they're trying, but I hear a lot of women say, I can't get to 100 grams of protein a day. You're just not trying, honey.
Yeah.
You're just, that's like 2 8-ounce portions.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
And if she's eating 3 meals a day, she's probably getting to her 200, maybe 400, or she's supplementing with a protein. But I would agree.
Yeah.
She doesn't need more than 200. I'm not sure why she needs more food or what she's doing unless she's working on a jackhammer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have there's a lot of women in my group. I have a private health and fitness group, and they do the math like that too. And I tell them, you never need more than 200. I mean, I don't even think you need more than 175. Really. I mean, I've had clients. I had a one-on-one client a few months ago, earlier this year, who was eating like 185. We started her at 185, and then we started to bring it down, and she was able to do that pretty easily, but she was like on top of it, eating every few hours, like meal prepping and things like that. But most women just aren't.
I don't know why they would need to, unless they're really lifting a lot or doing a lot of physical, or they're really cutting back carbs and really doing that to offset carb intake.
Right.
Then I get it if you're hungry, but to force feed that much?
Yeah, that's
I
not
mean, I'm
necessary.
struggling. I struggle some days to get to 200, but I might eat 2 meals that day. So there's a lot of days where I just eat 2 big meals. I might have close to a pound of protein in each meal, but
Men can eat so much.
I had to work up to that. I had to work my stomach acid up to that.
Bastards.
So I was drinking apple cider vinegar before I started eating to help my stomach acid build up to it. So it's all the plant-based stuff, and people go through this time where they're eating really plant-based. Their stomach acid weakens. And then so you got to build that back up to get used to eating meat. So it might be something you ramp up. It's like, okay, I can't digest that much meat. Well, give yourself time to do there.
Yeah.
Don't say I can't.
You need the gut flora to be able to do that.
Shoot, or the acid.
Yeah.
It's the acid in we digest. So the colon is where we digest plants and fiber, really, and that's where you have the bacteria based, right? The fermentation. The stomach, the small intestine is where we have acid base. That's where we get sugar and the fat and the protein digested, and that has to be built up. Well, if you don't feed it food that requires a lot of stomach, because you're not eating a lot of meat, your stomach acid is going to be diluted. It just doesn't need to be that strong. Whereas you start ramping up your protein intake, maybe increase it by 25 grams a month or so. Start at 100, ramp it up 25 grams a month until you get to where you need to be. Let your stomach acid catch up. And I think apple cider vinegar is one of those things you can sip before to help build up stomach acid. It can help build up the stomach acid.
I'll give that tip to my girls
So it's
too.
just ramping up over time. Don't feel like you have to turn a corner, go 180 degrees, from pseudo-vegetarian to pseudo-carnivore. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just, that's a hard turn. Well, we don't need to do that.
Wife did it.
I went from vegan to carnivore basically overnight, and that was fine.
Your discipline level is insane. You're not normal. You're superhuman.
I can do a muscle up. I'm not normal.
No, I would love to move like you.
No, you can do a muscle up. We'll talk. It's not the strength, it's the technique.
It's all of the edible movements, the back bend you do from that squatted back bend when you come back over your head. Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
That I haven't been able to do that since before I had the baby.
I feel better because I've been working on it for a long time and I'm still stiff as a board.
That's a tough one.
I don't do it.
I don't either.
She's amazing.
Oh yeah, I see it.
No. Yeah. After I feel like
I think all that yoga though helped you when you started strength training to help you get to where you're like, okay, I can move well.
I mean, I did yoga for a long time ago. So
yeah, but you train those muscles to move.
Yeah, and it helped. It definitely helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps to be able to get into certain positions that you wouldn't normally be able to.
Yeah. Mobility is where my primary focus right now on my workouts. I do some strength training to maintain what I have. I try to do some sprinting for speed and have that explosiveness. But then mobility is where my focus really is because I don't want to move like your average 50 or 60 year old. I want to move like a 30-year-old.
Do you have an air bike at home?
No.
I want to get one.
No.
Because I want to have Adriano do some more sprints, but the running kind of hurts his knee because he has a bum knee from jiu-jitsu. But I want to.
Yeah, I have a hard time doing it on the road. I try to find grass.
Yeah,
but
I wonder if that would make him feel better if he did it on grass. But I doubt it because his knee is pretty yucky.
Yeah. But anyway, we interrupted the fasting question.
Yeah.
No, I think you answered the fasting question pretty well.
Protein question. That's what it was.
The protein question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's putting too much pressure on herself. She's good. Just find some other foods that aren't starchy to eat alongside if she's really hungry. But I can't imagine her being that hungry eating 200 grams of protein and all the fat that goes. She's probably eating 200 grams of protein. She's probably eating at least another 200, 300 grams of fat on top of it, which would be very satiating. That's a lot of calories right there.
It is a lot. Yeah. You'd have to also calculate the carb and the fat, but then it would end up having to be low fat in order to stay under the calorie goal for the day. It's just,
it's a lot of work that a lot of people have to do.
To reverse disease.
Yeah.
But I mean, for some people, the outcome is you're taking metformin or insulin for the rest of your life until you die early. Or you are overweight, which no one wants to be over. No one, I don't care what they say. No one wants to be overweight.
No,
not even Lisa.
I was just thinking of her. I think she does. I think she wants to be overweight.
Because she makes a lot of money from it.
She's cashing in, but I'd say most of her life, she didn't like what she saw in the mirror and she didn't like what people said to her.
Yeah.
And really, we're celebrating it. It's a moment in time.
It's disgusting too. It's really just an abomination of feminine sexuality too, because it's so degenerate the way that she displays feminine sexuality, like as if that's what it's supposed to be like. It's an abomination to women. It really is.
If she was the embodiment of feminine sexuality, the human race would cease to exist.
That is true. That is true.
Do you want to answer some questions? We won't delve into the political or anything like that because I know you're not. I don't even know. Are you a political guy? I don't know.
Not so much publicly. I think there's a. Let me put it this way. There's a narrative out now that's dangerous for all of us, and I don't think it's right or left. I don't think it's Republican or Democrat. I think it's sovereignty, and the narrative that we're going to lose our right to make decisions about how we eat, how we use energy, what energy we use. We're already losing that. There's a narrative against eating meat, against animal agriculture, which I'm very personally offended by because that's what I think is best for humans.
Right.
And I think the energy we use right now, the fossil fuels, is what's best for humans.
Oh, I saw a great video about this guy saying that the term fossil and fossil fuels is just totally made up. They had to call it something just because they were talking about it's organic matter that's pulled from beneath the surface of the earth. So they were saying, it's from decaying materials. So let's call it fossils. Some convention that they call that. And he's like, people really don't understand. There's so much of this stuff. When people think of fossils, they think that there's this finite amount of fossils or organic material under the ground. He's like, people don't understand how much oil and natural gas we have. They can't grasp it. So there's this constant push of fear mongering, saying, we're going to run out of it. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, they changed the language.
So
just like capitalism, capitalism is a Marxist term.
Yeah.
It's the free market. And it was discovered, it wasn't invented.
Well, I won't get into necessarily political questions, but we do have some questions. And maybe, Gina, I know you can help with this. You've been a married man for how many years, approaching which anniversary?
25.
Okay, so you might be able to answer this as well. Here, it's in 3 parts. I'm not, I feel so bad. You shouldn't really say this about yourself. I'm not really a sexy gal, and so my sex life with my husband isn't the greatest. I'm working on losing weight. Obviously, he has told me I'm pretty and beautiful, but our sex life isn't the greatest. How can I get him in the mood without being too obvious?
Aw.
What's wrong with being obvious?
Right?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's no greater feeling in the world as a man of being wanted.
everybody wants to be wanted.
Right.
And that's what she's feeling. She's feeling like she wants to be wanted. Sometimes it's like if they've been married a while, you can't, they probably don't want you. They're probably not in the mood. Oh, I don't know. It's like there's that, no one wants to be rejected either. Everyone wants to be wanted. Nobody wants to be rejected. If you've been through a tough time in your relationship, when whatever it happens, there's distance there, and we tend to have a flight towards safety, not risk in relationships where it's like sometimes it's easier just to not, be the first one to initiate if it's not already spicy. I think it takes both people. They need a conversation is what they need. Open conversation about the problem, and then not make rules that people try to follow, because women don't follow rules anyway. You can make all the rules you want. Women aren't going to follow it.
Unchecked female spirit, unchecked feminine spirit.
Women don't follow rules. Men like rules because they know what to expect. It's predictable. Women aren't predictable. They're not supposed to be predictable.
I feel like guys don't constantly want sex 24/7. I think the impression is that we want it all the time.
Well,
right? If you're not getting it.
Right. Well, yeah. But I mean, also too, there's the thing about, there's a certain point during the month where a woman actually she needs it because her body is telling her, hey, you got to make
those 3 days are wonderful, aren't they? Yeah. I mean, no, there's got to be, that's why there has to be romance. There has to be connection. She's not wanting sex with him because she's in a fertile moment.
Right.
She wants intimacy. She wants to feel loved and cherished and beautiful.
Yeah.
And so that's where the guy has to start communicating those kind of words. Women love words. You can touch them, but words, man, you can get into a woman's head with words faster than you can with your hands.
Look, there's one right here. What do you think?
No, I think it's true. So it reminds me of what we've said before in the show. Men want respect and women want love. That's generally this kind of like the difference there, right?
And if we're continuing the list, it's love's not next in line. It's respect, sex, and food.
But I mean,
women want love, security.
Yeah.
And respect, and might be a little lower in the, they want love and security and to be protection. And so we're not the same, but we have to speak the other person's language to make a connection to make sure they appreciate it.
Yeah. But it does sound like she's saying that her husband tells her that she's beautiful. It really sounds, it's like, it's her own insecurities that's stopping her. I mean, but it's just like Zane said, what's wrong with being obvious? Like if you put in the effort, if you do blow out your hair, put a little bit of makeup on, put on some lingerie.
Just take your shirt off.
And just go sit in his lap. It's like, he's
Whoa.
not going to say no. He's not going to say no.
He's gonna like, oh, I don't need Netflix.
Yeah, like light a candle, set the mood. No, start by cooking him a warm meal. Fill up his belly. It's on him, by the way. Fill up his belly. Give him a little bit of dessert. Like, I mean, like bake him something. I don't mean like that in a sexual way. And then when his belly is full and he's satisfied, then you present yourself to him in a way he's not going to say no.
Wait a little bit.
Give him time to digest.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dinner is great, but don't treat a man like a woman. He doesn't want a card and a candle.
Right.
Honestly, he doesn't want flowers. He wants and overtness is sexy to men. I mean, there's a reason strip clubs are packed.
Okay, here's thank you for bringing up strip clubs. I had a question. It wasn't thank you. It wasn't in a question sticker.
Sure. Anytime.
Someone wanted to know why did strip clubs become so prevalent in bachelor parties before weddings, and how do we as a society think that they're acceptable? Like, what is acceptable about going out the night before or whenever, before your wedding, seeing a bunch of naked women, possibly, doing God knows what, and then getting married the next day? Like, when did that really become acceptable? Because I don't think guys in the 50s and 60s were doing it, maybe the 80s. Were they?
I bet the Victorian
stag
area.
nights.
I bet the Victorian area they were doing it. They were doing it in England. It's like, I bet that was happening a lot, not as much as it is now, but
Rome fell.
but with a decrease in morality,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have this is my last shot for my last chance to be decadent.
Yeah.
Because they've been decadent all through college and through maybe their single life after.
Did you go to a strip club on your bachelor party?
No, I felt the same way. I was like, why? Wait a minute. I'm about to commit my life to this woman. Why would I go somewhere else? I mean, I was
weird.
very not only idealistic, but it just didn't. The thought of it didn't even feel right.
I had a big guys' dinner where my wife's brothers, my brothers, and a bunch of my friends, we all went out and we booked this private dining room in this awesome restaurant in New York, and we just had a 4-hour-long dinner. Do that, right?
Yeah.
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 Absolutely. Connect with your buddies because you know what?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen as much
Never
anymore.
Right, yeah,
see him for a
exactly.
little
Yeah.
while. Yeah. Let's do 2 more.
You want to do 2 more?
Yeah.
That was a sad question. I hope, listen, everybody goes through, I think, those periods in their marriages. I mean, I'm newly into mine. What do you think in a 25-year marriage? Those lulls happen? Or is it always,
Oh my gosh.
always spicy?
No, lulls happen.
Yeah.
Kids happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Kids will ruin your marriage if you let them.
Right, if you let them.
If you let them divide you, if you let them exhaust you, if you don't set boundaries for your time together, if you let them run your schedule, they're not doing it intentionally. They're children. They're greedy. They want
they're naturally
attention.
selfish.
They want to be fed everything, money, food, attention. They need nourishment. They need to be ready. They want it. So until they start ignoring you when they're teenagers, but you have to set boundaries. You just like the whole date night thing. There's a reason that's a thing.
Very, very important. We try to do them.
So
I know.
long. We need to do
Ours
that.
physically divides us. Sleeps right between us in the bed.
Yeah, that's a phase.
Yes.
But realize that's a phase, and then when that phase is over, you got to make the effort to kind of like bring things back. And it's just like, but it could be as simple as walking up behind her and kissing her on the neck and telling you I love her.
That's me. That's my love language. Is I want to be hugged and stuff like that.
Are you physical touch? Is that your
I'm
love
physical
language?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
me.
Adriano's. That's funny.
Like
I
I'll
wouldn't expect that
grab
from
her
you.
and hug her for 30 seconds. I just
Right.
want to hug. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
what's
nice.
Carly's love language?
I think she's an acts of service. I think she's an acts of service person.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably gonna get killed when she sees like that's not my love language. I think so. What is she? I love it when she does stuff for me that makes me happy. When I don't know. This is awkward. Yeah.
on the spot. The mic's hot, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I know. I think it's pretty. Like we would agree, definitely. Mine is physical touch. Hers might be acts of service, I think, or it might be switched. I can't remember, but date nights are very important.
Yeah,
we try to do those. It sounds
It's
so bad, like
hard.
once a month, but it's hard. We also don't have family in the area, so to rely on someone to watch the kid is kind of tough.
No, we're in the same position.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just so hard after a long day
Yes.
to like get yourself out. It's oh my gosh, I just want to go to bed.
Go to a restaurant. I like it. Go to a restaurant. Go to
And then
Steam
you got to
Boys.
go eat shitty
And
food.
then you gotta eat bad food that makes your stomach hurt. Then you really don't feel
and then
in the mood.
then you're really gonna pay for it the next day.
You're not in the mood then. My stomach bloats and burns when I eat that stuff now. I'm so sensitive to it. I can't do it. So I've been ruined. But
Dang.
no, I think as far as for her, she probably wants to, it's not about saying, am I pretty? It's like, is there some reason that maybe we aren't as intimate as often as we used to be?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something there that we need to talk about?
Yeah.
And if we said no, then it's like, I think we've gotten away from this. I'd love to make this more part of our life together.
Yeah.
And just be super honest. You come a guy with like straight talk, and then he knows how to respond. Guessing what's going on in a woman's mind. Oh my gosh,
No,
nothing
You'll
is more
be
frustrating.
guessing a long time.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Your head explodes. You have no idea what to do, so you just freeze.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll do one more here, and then we've got a bunch more that we'll do on Kangmins.
Great.
We'll do a bunch more. So let's see. Should I do this one? I don't know.
Is it another sad one?
Kind of. A lot of them are religious. Why did I say it like that? A lot of them are religious.
Oh.
Let's see. What are the top 3 things a couple married couples? No, get out of here.
Do you like pit bulls, Zane?
Oh yeah.
Do I like pit bulls? I mean, I don't really actually have no feelings about pit bulls one way or the other.
He's a grown man.
Okay.
He's a grown man. He's not a 20-year-old Groyper. Okay, so, we'll do this one just because I think this one might be interesting.
Okay.
This is kind of sad, but we might as well do it. My sister-in-law has had 3 abortions and she always talks about them. She doesn't know that I'm against it. I usually don't give her any response because I don't want to cause drama. What should I do?
What is it that she would be? I'm sorry, am I interrupting you?
No, I mean, I'm a little bit confused.
Why do anything?
Yeah, why do anything? Like... Okay, so
She's had them.
Sister-in-law has had 3 abortions that
Correct.
she talks about them in front of her.
Correct.
Okay, I think I get the question now. Okay. I think it's perfectly fine to take her aside and say something like you're uncomfortable hearing about it. If she talks about it all the time, it's totally okay for you to say I'm not comfortable with this conversation for X, Y, and Z reasons.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. That's what you should do. Yeah. Because if
she's willing to be that blunt about her abortion choices, then you should be able to be blunt enough about what you want to listen to.
Yeah, and it could be about anything. If she's constantly talking about something that's making you uncomfortable,
or
right?
Religion, or anything else that makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
No. If it's religion, I yell "Christ is Lord" in front of people, and I demand them they say it back to me.
There's a clip of Shia LaBeouf doing that as Padre Pio. That's why we talk about it.
There's context that you don't have.
So. Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely take her aside and talk to her.
Yeah.
Don't put up with listening to that garbage.
And she's a sister-in-law, not blood, so.
That's true.
Whatever.
So you can say
Anyway,
whatever.
I mean.
Yeah. You want to do one more?
You want to do one more? I think you want one more.
Let's do one more.
Okay, let me find one more. Go ahead. Keep talking.
Let's not
see if
end
I can...
on the abortion.
Did I answer your questions about
Yes.
diet and exercise?
Yeah. This was really good.
Okay, let's not talk about it.
We got a little bit nerdy on some stuff, but we have yet to really get into seed oils with anybody. So this was good. And we've had a lot of, health and fitness people on.
You just want to avoid them. They're in our fat tissue. They're in all of our food. And we basically need to stick to whole food as much as possible and know that saturated fat is not killing you. It's actually a benefit. So yeah, cow fat, for instance, is like 45% saturated, 45% monosaturated, like you see in olive oil. And then there's like the wiggle room. It's 45-50, and there's like 3 to 6% that's polyunsaturated. Some of that is the omega-6. But that's a healthy balance of fat. We've turned it to, it's saturated fat.
Opposite.
Well, it has. Our bodies are very similar. Our bodies are about 45% supposed to be monounsaturated fat, maybe 35, 25, 35, 36%, 35, in that range. Saturated fat, our adipose tissue. And then maybe anywhere from 7 to 10% of it is supposed to be polyunsaturated fat, give or take. But we've taken that to a level that's 23%. And it can only come through our diet. We cannot create these fats in our bodies. So it's coming in through our food system. And now we see the effects of it in our society.
Yeah.
And we see it getting worse as people get older, as they eat more and more and more and more of those. Some people are tolerant. Yeah, when you're younger, you're tolerant. You haven't built up in your system yet, depending on what your diet was like. And then it starts building up in your system. So what it is you've created a toxic level of these in your system. And some people are more sensitive than others, which is true with anything, to certain toxins. But overall, it's a problem. And as that increases in our diet, we see the increase of metabolic disease. It's just not hard to figure out. We're ignoring the obvious. And I think that's where you see Megyn Kelly. I know she's tweeting about it. She's given up French fries. Now she's getting rid of seed oils and everything else.
Is she?
From listening to Kate Shanahan. Bear Grylls just went from, he used to be vegetarian. Now he's gone more animal-based, and he's avoiding the seed oils. That was in his GQ interview.
Wait, Bear Grylls was a vegetarian?
Yeah, believe it or not, he fell into the whole, celebrity thing. It's like the cool thing to be. I don't know how he survived out there in the wild.
That's what I'm
he's been biting into salmon for how long?
Yeah.
Right out of the water? It's like, come on.
We got a thoughts question from our no context. Our no context sent us a thoughts question.
Okay, I'll speak.
Is he allowed?
Yes, he's allowed.
Okay. Thoughts on childless marriages by choice, not infertility, etc.
Oh yeah, no, that's not okay. I have very strong opinions on that. So I don't think that every single human being on the planet should be a parent. Like, especially from a biblical perspective, there is scripture that talks about being single and serving God in a different way than having a family.
Monks, brothers, sisters, mothers.
Exactly, right? So you have a different path, and you have a different way to serve God. And Regis, I almost said his real name. Regis talks about this all the time, and he can give us, the scripture if you guys want to know what it is. But people who get married, like, what are you doing if you're not having kids? What's the point? Especially, again, from a biblical Christian perspective, like, what's the point? What are you doing? Just by choice, you want to, why don't you want to have kids? Because you want to have your free time? Like, why? So my answer to that is no, it's not okay. If you get married and if you're committing your life to somebody, have kids.
I have 4. That's a lot. I mean,
I'd assume people get married. One of the biggest reasons is because they want to have children. They want to create a loving home.
Why else?
Wouldn't you? Why would you commit yourself to someone if you weren't going to create a family? The point of marriage is to create a family structure. What are you doing? You just want the tax benefits? I mean, you just want to share insurance? What is the benefit of getting married if you're not creating a family structure? You just want to have the party? I mean, why are you creating a family structure if for some reason, I mean, I understand people who can't, and that's
different. That's
a very different thing. It's about a conscious choice. It's like kids make you a lot less selfish, clearly. You put someone else first.
Yeah.
Obviously. And I think as those people get older, they may regret it.
I think a lot of them probably
do. Yeah, because you're going to have no legacy and you're going to die with nobody remembering you.
Your bloodline's cut off.
Done.
You just... and where's your attention going? What are you focusing on?
Yeah, what are you doing? What are you just staring at each other every day for the rest of your lives?
Come home from work, turn on the TV, have dinner.
Exactly.
Go out to dinner.
Eat your seed oils.
Yeah.
They live in a van and they put it on Instagram.
So, Zane, tell everybody where to find you.
Instagram's probably the best place at Zane Griggs Fitness. Probably the best place. I have a YouTube channel with some lightly watched videos on it, and I do have a podcast called Hunger Hunt Feast, but actually might be rebranding that. The Healthy AF seems to be taking off, so I'm probably just going to listen to my listeners, by people who like what I'm saying, and say, oh, I have to rebrand this. Maybe just go in that direction. But the Healthy AF being a play on words with after 50, so being healthy after 50. But the double entendre is, of course, there, and people seem to like it. But it gave me a way to get into people's, get them listening, and then lay down some nerdy stuff.
I'm surprised you wore a shirt. You shouldn't have worn a shirt for the show.
I know. Occasionally I wear a shirt. Occasionally I wear a shirt, but
no shirts. No shirts.
So
on here.
But yeah, Instagram's probably the best place. Is Zane Griggs Fitness, and from there you can find me anywhere.
It'll be in the description.
Oh yeah, we'll put it in the description. Thanks for coming on, Zane. This was great.
Thank you, Gina.
This was really great.
It went by so quick, and they talked about so much.
I know. Wow. Yeah, we did a good chunk of time. So do you want to do a little send off?
You do it.
Bye. No, I'm just kidding. Go to imdoingmerch.com. Get yourself a really great baby pink Abolish Daycare t-shirt. We also have...
We have baby clothes on there too.
Oh, I'm not going to announce the other thing yet because we haven't announced it.
No, that's tomorrow.
Yeah,
that'll be today.
That'll be today.
It comes out.
So should I say
the day of...
No.
Because this isn't going out today. It's going out tomorrow.
Okay.
And tomorrow is today for everyone who's listening or watching.
Tomorrow is today.
Yeah.
Today's tomorrow. December 10th, Saturday, 2 p.m. At 2 p.m. Central, we are hosting at the Foundry, God is Great, the Christian panel. And we have 3 different people who are panelists, one person representing Orthodox Christianity, another person representing Catholicism, and another person representing Protestantism. So it's going to be a great panel, great discussion. We're going to have some VIP, some familiar faces there like Bryson and some others. There will be options for VIP tickets if you want to hang out with us afterwards, hang out with the panelists,
or
have
before.
A meal,
we haven't
or before.
Decided yet.
Yeah, it will be before or after. So it's going to be a great event. Do we have the link out for the tickets yet? We don't.
No. We're going to release tickets closer to November 1st. So maybe October 25th. I think we're going to release tickets like 6 weeks before the event.
Just save the date on your calendar, Saturday, December 10th. And it's going to be very Christmassy here. And if you live nearby, if you live in a neighboring state to Tennessee, make the drive. Come see us.
It's not far.
It's not far. It's only 17 hours.
From where?
I don't know. I was just kidding.
From Texas. Do you know Chicago's only about 6 hours away?
Yep.
Is
Miami's 13.
Yeah.
New York's
Chicago's
about 13.
only 6 hours away?
Like a drive.
Is so centrally located, you can get to so many places. Great for touring.
How many states do we border? 7? I think we border
something like that.
Do we shoot? Okay. Alabama.
Yeah.
Kentucky.
Yeah. Georgia.
North
Carolina, South Carolina.
Do we border North Carolina, South Carolina?
Missouri. Arkansas.
Oh, yeah, Missouri. Yep. Okay.
I've been here a while.
Yeah.
Okay, I have that. I know.
You looking at
I think
the map?
Missouri might be, we have to cut a corner to get to it.
But not by much.
No. I think we can go straight up to hit St. Louis. So actually, without having to go through Kentucky.
St. Louis is 5 hours
Missouri.
away?
Yeah, at most.
So we border 8 states: Kentucky, Virginia, North Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas, and Missouri.
Yeah. If you're
Virginia is the one I was left out.
Do you know what our
Okay.
state's nickname is?
volunteer state.
The volunteer state.
Yeah.
I'm so smart.
Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, bye, bye. I'm doing merch.com. I'm doing merch.com. Bye, bye, bye. Okay, bye.